Hi, you're watching another episode of Speak Up for Blue TV, where you not only get the latest, greatest, and not so greatest ocean news happening around the world, but you get my take on it. I'm Andrew Lewin, founder of SpeakUpForBlue.com, where we support ocean conservation through awareness, education, and action. Our first story of the day is actually our douchebag of the day. And the douchebag of the day is Francesco Schettino, captain of the cruise ship Costa Concordia, which managed to run aground near the shores of the island of Giglio, Italy, and of course made international news everywhere. Now, the cruise ship ran aground last week after the captain of the ship took it off course to say hello to a friend who was on the coast. Unfortunately, the coastline was very shallow and it ran aground along the shore, close to shore. And the captain at the time was drunk, of course, as always captains are in these situations. And when he found out he ran aground, he was the first to jump ship, go in a lifeboat, and head towards shore safely, leaving his crew and the passengers to fend for themselves. And of course, tragically, 16 people are dead and 12 are still missing in the waters and are being searched for. Now, to top off, this douchebag was contacted by the Coast Guard once the Coast Guard found out that the ship ran aground. And the Coast Guard urged the captain to go back on the ship and fulfill his duties as the captain of the ship. Well, the captain refused, saying that if he goes back on the ship, it's unsafe for him to go back on the ship because he was on the shore. So now the ship is halfway in the water, listing to one side, and of course is probably on top of these precious habitats that are in the area and maybe killed even a lot of species. And authorities are definitely worried about the 2,400 tons of fuel that is still aboard and worried that it's going to leak everywhere, causing even more damage. The area of the crash is quite important because it's part of the Tuscan Archipelago National Park, a marine protected area that is so precious that people are not even allowed to swim in the waters surrounding the boundaries. The park's home to pristine coral reefs, seagrasses, fish, dolphins, and sometimes it's home to the endangered Mediterranean monk seal. Now, the ship had no business being in the area for two reasons. One, it was a marine protected area, and it needs to be kept clean and out of harm's way. And two, the depth was obviously too shallow for a ship of that size to be anywhere close to shore. And to be honest, these ships have the latest technology in depth sounders that anybody has ever seen. So there's no way this ship should even be close to that shore. So in my opinion, the captain and the company, who by the way, the parent company is Carnival Cruise Lines, should not only be fined heavily for this, but they should also be ordered to fund the restoration efforts that are probably going to be underway to piece this habitat back together. And God help us if there is an oil leak. So on a more positive note, we go to our second story of the day, which happens in Queensland, Australia, where government officials are happy to say that pingers installed on nets designed to keep sharks out of coastal beach areas and where swimmers happily swim, have actually been working to keep whales away from the shark nets and getting entangled. The pingers were installed after 2009, where a report identified 27 whales were entangled in the nets between the year 2000 and 2009. And over the past 2 years, only 2 whales were entangled, and both were released without any harm. Now, this is fantastic news, and it's nice to see that the Australian government is working to reduce the number of whales affected by these shark nets. However, do you not find it funny the report didn't say anything about sharks being entangled in these nets and what the fate of these sharks were? It's just something to think about, and I think we need to address. But our last story takes us to China, and I chose to share this story because the world, including myself, tends to piss on China for their environmental policies. But this story shows that there are some people in China who are looking out for the oceans. A group of Chinese animal rights activists attended the Beijing International Fur and Leather Product Expo this year to protest against the Canadian seal fur trade. And of course, Russia recently announced that there's a ban on that they were going to ban any trade on Canadian harp seal furs. Now, last year, the Canadian government sent a huge delegation to the expo to represent the Canadian seal fur trade. but it was met with representatives from 15 different Chinese provinces to protest the fact that the Canadians were promoting their product. Because the activists were essentially saying China does not want these seal furs in China. So I find it's just nice to see that some Chinese people are actually working towards helping the oceans and protecting the oceans. And it just goes to show that education is working to help people understand the issues that are facing the ocean. Not only that, people from all over the world are now taking part in protecting the oceans. So I think it's a really nice way to end this episode. But before I go, I want to throw a question of the day at you. Do you think the shark nets off the coast of Australia are actually harmful to sharks, or are they beneficial to sharks? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, as usual, there are links to the stories that were profiled today in the description, as well as links to the actual story on Speak Up for Blue. And if you want your ocean story profiled on Speak Up for Blue News, let me know. Contact us. Links are down below in the description. And of course, as always, if you like the program, please share it with your friends and your networks and your family. And favorite us, subscribe to us, and we'll provide more awareness for you on things that are happening around the world in the oceans. As usual, I'm Andrew Lewin, founder Speak Up for Blue. Happy conservation.